Hey folks, it's William here with Certainty Home Inspections. Today we've got a really hot topic. I know that it's a hot topic because there's over 1 million searches each month on Google for how to select a real estate agent. So today I've brought on board with me an expert in the field, Mr. Bart Medlock. And I'll tell you now up front, you can reach him at bartmedlock.com or you can call area code 812-987-6387. I brought Bart on because we've worked with Bart for the last 10 years. And in the home inspection business, we've worked with a ton of real estate agents, and so we've gotten to know agents that we call our inner circle agents. These are the agents that are the most ethical. We know that when we get a call from this agent, it's going to be a smooth transaction because first and foremost, they've got the client's wants and needs in mind ahead of everything else. Other agents out there, not so ethical, maybe more concerned about getting to that closing table, getting that commission check. So Mr. Bart Medlock, we'll introduce him here in a second, but he's a certified residential specialist. He is an ePro internet professional. He's a certified distressed property expert, an accredited buyer's representative, Kentucky Housing Partnership certified agent, short sale and foreclosure expert. So he's been around the block, knows about everything there is to know as far as buying and selling homes. So Bart, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, William.
And I'll just jump right in there. I know that again, this is a hot topic, how to find a right real estate agent. Now let's start this out by saying that I think a lot of folks start backwards. They're in the supermarket or they pick up a homes magazine and they see a number there for a home that's listed for sale. It's a cute looking house, so they call that number. And then the agent that picks that phone up, of course, that's what he's after, is those leads. And then they're kind of tied to or stuck with that real estate agent. So if you would just explain, if you would, why that might be a mistake. Why would we look for a real estate agent first?
Primarily because the agent whose name is on the sign has been retained by the seller to sell the house for as much money as possible in the least amount of time possible. That's their primary obligation to the seller. So it would be difficult if you reach out to them to have them show you the house. It's relatively difficult for them to get you the best price and terms on the house, knowing that they've already signed an agreement with the seller to sell the house for the most money in the least time for the seller.
And I just don't think most people think about it. They don't think about it that way anyway. They need a new home. I need a bigger house. I need to be closer to work. So they end up calling the number on the first cute home that they see, and then they're kind of attached to that agent without knowing anything about their history, their credentials, their experience, and those sort of things. So I think we've kind of established. I get it. You should try to find a real estate agent first. So what would you say? Anything different to a first-time home buyer, the first couple out there looking for a new home? What would you say to them?
Kind of further expand on what we were just discussing there about the other thing. A lot of buyers might think, well, if I call my own agent, particularly first-time home buyers, if I call my own agent, that means I'm going to have to pay somebody else, and that's just not the case. Because, for example, when I go and I list a home for whatever percentage of the sale price at closing, then when I put that home in the MLS and put it on the market, I am going to offer a percentage of that commission to other agents who are working with buyers to help facilitate the sale of that home, to expose that home to a broadest audience as possible. Of course, that's obviously what's in the best interest of my client. So it's not going to cost the buyer any additional money to find their own agent first, to show them whatever properties that they want to see, and have that agent exclusively representing their interests, because then you're not in any kind of compromising position. The first step, when I get a call from somebody who's new, I'll usually ask them if they're pre-approved. Because that's what I like to see before anybody goes out and ties up their time showing houses, looking at houses in a certain price range, because most all buyers that I have worked with, they've got a certain monthly payment that they want to stay at or around. Sometimes they'll use those mortgage calculators online, and what those mortgage calculators don't often factor in is what property taxes, homeowners insurance, mortgage insurance, those kind of things. And so all of a sudden a buyer ends up looking at homes and they're thinking that this home is going to be a certain monthly payment when that's not reality. So oftentimes I like buyers to get pre-approved, and a good real estate agent will be able to refer you to a good lender. I'll keep my opinion about some of the bigger banks to myself today. My mom always told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But oftentimes real estate agents who are in this business, in the trenches, doing it day in and day out, they know who the absolute best lenders are, who can get you the best rate and terms for your loan and get things and make the transaction as smooth as possible. And there are a number of other lenders out there that seems like their primary job is they want to make it as difficult as possible. So a good real estate agent will help you make the right selection of a lender. The way to find a good real estate agent, ask for referrals from friends. Absolutely nothing wrong with interviewing 2 or 3 agents to be your buyer's agent before you even go out and look at the first home or even get pre-approved. In fact, I would invite anyone to interview myself and a couple other agents as well. Let's sit down, let's have a cup of coffee, lunch, whatever, and let's get to know each other. Let me find out what your goals and objectives are, and let's see if you like me. Let's see if we're going to be a good fit to work together, because if we are, then great. But I can tell you there are going to be certain clients that I don't want to work with because they have unrealistic expectations. And I'd rather know that up front than find out after the fact and have to go through, a messy divorce, so to speak. It's best to ask for referrals from friends. Look for reviews online. Go to Zillow. Look at agents' Zillow profiles, or Trulia. There are a number of different resources out there. I would want, if I were going to go buy a house in an area where I was not licensed in, I would probably want an agent who is doing at least a bare minimum of probably 24 transactions per year, whether they're representing the buyer or seller. Just to kind of give you a measuring stick, over the past, since 2006, I've done on average about 50 to 55 transactions per year where I'm representing the buyer or the seller. So, you don't need an agent who does that much volume, but I would want somebody who at least has the experience. I mean, look at it as if, you were hiring a doctor, a lawyer, or what have you. Do you want a doctor who does 3 surgeries a year or 36 surgeries a year? You want somebody who has the experience, because in any real estate transaction, there are going to be any number of challenges that can come up. Oftentimes, those challenges are recurring with each transaction. So to come up with solutions to get you to the closing table. And also somebody who will tell you when, hey, this is not in your best interest, we need to back away and go a different direction. I think we can find you a different home, better location, better price. You want somebody who's going to tell you when not to buy a home also.
That's excellent, Bart. You just answered a ton of questions right there. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sitting here thinking, advice that I would give to a new home buyer that's out there looking for a real estate agent is to make sure that you're out there qualifying those real estate agents. But what I'm hearing from you is, hey, as a good real estate agent, you're out there qualifying these clients to make sure you're not going to be wasting anybody's time. I mean, I totally get that. I think that's awesome. So I guess the advice might be to prospective people out there that are qualifying real estate agents is also make sure that they're qualifying you as a client, so they're not wasting your time. Would that be a fair statement?
Way to tell is, if you, and I don't ever ask my clients, the buyers that I'm working with, for a reciprocal obligation until we've been out and looked at homes together at least once or twice. And the reason for that, I want them to understand the philosophy that I approach helping somebody buy a home with is I want to eliminate all my possible competition. When they buy this house, they're going to sell it at some point. I want to eliminate all my competition for when they sell that house now, when they buy that house, because I want them to understand that I am truly interested in doing what is best and what is right for them. Because if I approach my business with that philosophy of just taking care of my clients, then I believe karma will take care of me. It'll eventually work out exactly how it's supposed to, as long as I am putting their interest first and foremost in my mind, and then I'm going to eliminate all my competition for when they go to sell that house in the future. That's how I approach my business.
And I think that's really what separates the professionals from the amateurs that are out there. I mean, we're the same way here. We want to be your home inspection company for life. I don't want to just do the one job for you. I want you to call me back here in 4 or 5 years when you're ready to sell that home. I want your friends and family to call me. So, we get it all the time. A good example for us would be, say, radon gas testing. Radon is a big deal in our area, so it's not uncommon for us to have a home buyer that we tell them, hey, you're in a hot zone for radon gas here. You might consider testing for that. And we'll get the, I'm not worried about that. I think it's a hoax, or I'm going to die of something anyway. And we have to say, back up a second. Just keep in mind that if you pass on that test right now, you live here for 4 or 5 years, you get ready to sell this home, chances are the new buyer coming in is going to test for radon. And guess what? If it comes back high, you're going to end up fixing that anyway. So you might consider having that test done now. So always thinking of the client in the future. Again, I think it's great that you think about them in years to come. It separates you again as the professional from the amateurs that are out there. So long term is the way to think. So we talked about the experience, at least 24 inspections, 24 home sales, buying or selling side. You think that an agent should do as a minimum throughout the year to have good experience. We talked about Zillow and Trula to get the references, as well as just getting references from other people. If you talk to a real estate agent, don't be afraid to ask them for their credentials and some of their previous clients that they worked with, and give them a ring and see what they think. If agents do well, I think you'll find the information out there. So great info on that. The only other question I would have, we talked about tools here and experience and all that. I know you're pretty technologically savvy and you use all the tools that are out there, but again, you've got a home buyer out there looking around, shopping for a real estate agent. What tools would you expect that a qualified agent would have in their tool bag? They're going to help that client find their home or sell their home. So technologically, tool-wise, what would be your advice there, Bart?
Well, I think it goes without saying that obviously cell, email, text, those are no-brainers. You'd be hard-pressed, I think, to find an agent who didn't use those three things. But probably the thing that's made the greatest difference in my business with me and my clients in the last 3 years since I've been using is e-signatures. E-signatures have made facilitating a real estate transaction so much less cumbersome and so much more efficient, because what used to be where if you needed a document signed by a client, a contract, or what have you, what used to take a significant amount of time, you had to make sure you had, a computer with access to a printer. If you needed to get a client to sign a document, then they had to print it out, they had to sign it, and then find a scanner or a fax machine to get it back to you. And that could that could be very time consuming if they didn't have those tools already at their disposal. Now, I've got clients who are, signing documents using their mobile phones because the e-signatures have made, like I said, it's just made things, my life and my client's life, so much easier when you're, and plus from a time standpoint, if you're in a multiple offer situation, or if you're in a competing offer situation trying to buy a house that's just hit the market, you better have an agent who can make things happen for you quickly. Now, obviously within reason, but as long as I'm available, that's one thing that I'm really kind of want to be Johnny on the spot, because I don't want my clients to lose a house because of something that I am or am not able to do. So I want to make sure that I'm cutting edge and have everything available to serve my clients as quickly as possible. I think it's important that any client, a real estate agent, you got to keep that in mind if you're a client looking for a real estate agent. And part-time agents, nothing against them. When I started in the business, I bartended. But the times that I bartended were in the evening, about 3 or 4 nights a week, and it didn't really take away from my availability for my clients. And that was also before, the internet that we have now. In 2002, it was a different market even than it is here in 2014. But yeah, making sure that the agent that you select has the tools available to help you get the home that you want, period.
And I agree. I know you've seen it come so far in the last 10 years. The technology has just come so far in the last 10 years. And there are still inspectors out there today, though, that are doing the handwritten copy, tear you off a carbon copy, that's what you get. And it's so far advanced today. With these computer-generated reports, we've got links embedded in the report. You can click on a link and go watch a video or go to a blog post to get more information about what you're talking about. And the e-signatures, we send out a email to the client prior to the inspection, sometimes 3 or 4 days in advance. They can read over the service agreement, sign it right there with their mouse, all totally legal, tracks back to their IP address to make it legal. So really cool with today's technology. It just keeps getting better as well. And so I agree. Some of these dinosaur agents out there can really be a hindrance to a buyer or seller if you're trying to buy a property or sell a property. You need people that are up to date with today's technology to get that job done. So I don't want to burn up a bunch of time here. Are there any other questions, Bart, that I should ask on the behalf of somebody out there trying to select an agent, or any other advice that you would give to anyone out there trying to find that good real estate agent?
Well, one thing, and I get this complaint sometimes, because sometimes I'll get calls from people who they've been working with one real estate agent and they get frustrated, and so they will start looking online, and a lot of them will see my profile on Zillow, and they'll read the reviews from my past clients, and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, you know, I've been working with this agent, but they're showing me houses that are in this price range, and I told them I don't want to spend more than this. And so that's one thing that you can tell pretty quickly whether an agent is working in your best interest or whether they're more concerned with them. I don't, you know, if a client gives me a particular price range that they don't want to go over and above, I will not go over and above that. The only exception to that is if we go out and look for houses and and they've told me they don't want to go over, let's say, 160,000. If we're out and we're looking at houses and they've told me what their wish list is, and we've looked at everything for 160,000 that could, and they can't find it, I usually will tell clients, and I'm very honest and frank with them, folks, you got two options here. You can wait and hope and pray that something might come available that fits all your wants and is in your price range, or you can scale back on your wish list, or with your permission, I'll be happy to see what's out there up to 170 or 180 if they have the ability to go up to 170 or 180. So, but if an agent right out of the gate is all of a sudden sending them stuff that's over whatever the price ceiling, that's a big red flag initially. So you had mentioned something about radon, which was a great point. I tell my clients when I'm advising them as far as inspections are concerned, if they say, hey, you know, I'm not really worried about the radon thing, exactly what you said, I said, that's fine if you're not worried about the radon thing. It's one less thing I have to worry about, you know, coming up to snag up the transaction that we have here. But the big concern is if the buyer, when you go to sell this, just be prepared. If it tests high when you go to sell this, then, you know, they're going to expect you to pay the $750 to $850 to have it mitigated. So just be prepared for that if you don't want to spend the $125, $150, whatever it is for the radon test to be done now. So, and I also understand that there's a exception to that. You know, I'm under the understanding that there are homes that even though they may test low now, when you go to sell this in 5 years, there are changes that can occur that could cause it to test high in the future. So that's, you know, a risk that you run also.
And that's so true that you never know about radon gas. So we do a lot of testing, and we've tested it after the fact as well. We even tested when they've had some mitigation systems in and came out with some high levels. So, but it is dominant in our area and something that needs to, you know, have attention paid to and be aware of. And it sounds like you're making your clients aware. So that's what we're after. Bart, I can't thank you enough for being on and sharing this information. I'm sure people picked up a lot of gold nuggets out of this. And we'll do it again. Maybe we'll talk about first-time home buyers or something here in the future. So again, thanks so much for joining us. Again, it's Bart Medlock. You can check him out at bartmedlock.com or give him a call at 812-987-6387. I'm William, the owner of Certainty Home Inspections. That's www.certaintyinspections.com, or call our toll-free number. Schedule yourself 24/7. 866-417-9591. Thanks so much for joining us on this Hangout.